Hello, Internet, and welcome to another episode of Help for the Guildless. My name is Cole Spire, and happy Father's Day. And that is what I'm here to talk about today. I have said it before, and I'll say it again. Being a father, you're part of a very, very special guild, and I couldn't be happier than being part of it. So, it's been about a year, give or take a day, that we have talked about what feminists and third-wave feminists and SJWs have done to try and stop Father's Day. So color me surprised when Father's Day starts rolling around and I don't see anything. Okay, I take that back. There was one thing, one tiny thing, and it's really easy to avoid. Old Navy put out a shirt that says Happy Father's Day, with her being emboldened and capitalized, so it actually reads Happy Her Day. So once again, it's okay for mothers to be in on Father's Day and get credit for Father's Day, but fathers don't take credit for Mother's Day, and if I did, I'd be labeled a bastard. Like if I came in on here on Mother's Day last month and said, Happy Mother's Day, guys. We did it. We have all of the single fathers out there. We are here to represent single fathers on Mother's Day. Do you know what would happen? I would be called an asshole. I would be called a misogynist. I'd be called a sexist. Why am I trying to push male agenda on a female day, etc., etc., etc. So that still bothers me, but it's really easy. Because it's as simple as this. Who has two thumbs is a very proud father and will never be shopping at Old Navy again? This guy right here. So that's how you deal with that. You just don't give them your money and they'll maybe learn. Angelsoft did it last year, and I'm pretty sure they regret it. Now, what I do find so great that has been coming out lately is there have been studies and there have been surveys and there have been questionnaires about the impact of fathers on children's lives. And what are we finding out? We are finding out that a father is extremely important in a child's life. And I'm going to do a little pro versus con here, and I'm going to give you the con first, because it's also been just about over a week since the horrible shooting at Pulse in Orlando. Why I'm bringing this up as part of the bad is because we are starting to find out that the shooter's dad was horrible. He was a horrible, horrible, horrible person. And his influences are actually part of the reason why the shooter, that piece of shit, did what he did. So, it comes to light that he has a YouTube channel and he is spouting all of this stuff. And it gets downloaded into his son. Well, that's not good. You know, when you are raising a child, all of your idiosyncrasies, whether you're a single father, a single mother, two gay men, two gay women, or the quote-unquote traditional family where it's mother and father, all of your ideals, all of your ideas, and all of your temperament get downloaded into this child. And they are nothing but sponges. So when your child starts to grow up and like the same things that you like, or acts the same way that you act, or, God forbid, have the same shitty attitude as some of the other, like you, that's because of your influence. Now, that's the con. and anybody who jumps on that bandwagon, well, that's toxic masculinity. No, that's toxic ideology. But that's, to bad phrasing, beat a dead horse. Let's go on to the positives. And I don't have any of the studies with me, but you can very easily look them up. I'm going to be giving you anecdotal evidence of the positives of fathers, and I'm talking about my dad. Now, last year I gave a little bit of definition of who my father was. I'm going to give you a story from my dad that I remember, and I'm going to give you my impression that I remember as a kid, and my impression of what had happened now. And I believe this happened when I was around 14, so about 20 years ago. Now, I'm going to go a little bit more into about my dad, because I want to point out his good influences. Now, when I was younger, a single person working full-time could support a family. That has changed. Before that changed, my dad worked Monday through Friday. He'd leave before we go to school, and he'd be back before dinner. Now, there are some times that my dad would take us to school. Those were cool. But on the weekend, that was family time. Now, I do not have the typical Monday through Friday job, so I can't do that, but I do have 2 days off in a row, so I can have that be considered my weekend. Anyway, that would be reserved for going on trips, going to the beach, going to Disneyland, going to SeaWorld, going out to dinner, going to visit the in-laws, going to visit grandparents. It would be family time. We'd have board game nights, we'd have TV nights, we'd go to the drive-in, we'd go to the movies. I know it's technically the same thing, but drive-ins back then were an experience. They still are now, but not as much. Everything's done through digital and radio, and there wasn't a big group thing going with drive-ins. But I digress. My dad was a family man. And I loved that about him, and I still do. And I want to do that with my kids as well. Now, this is the story. I had a friend who we'll call Steve, who I thought was a good friend. At the time, he was one of my best friends. And my dad did something that most parents don't do nowadays, and that's he got to know the people I hung out with. And I'm telling you that to explain what happened. As I was getting older, I started to notice that Steve really wasn't that great of a person. Him and I butt heads a lot, and I lived in a community where we had block parties, and all the kids knew each other, and all the kids hung out, and all that. So it was, I believe, summer when I was 14, and we were out late, and we were playing Kick the Can. If you don't know what Kick the Can is, look it up. It's a game that's played by kids at night, and it's fun, okay? It was fun. Anyway, I'm feeling old. After the game, I don't remember what exactly was said or what exactly happened during Kick the Can, but Steve and I got into an argument, and it was going to come to blows. And it did come to blows. He threw the first punch, I started fighting back, and my dad came out and stopped the fight. I thought my dad was going to put an end to the fight. He came out, said, "Cole, give me your glasses, I don't want them broken. This fight is going to be fair. You guys are going to finish this." And the fight happened. I wouldn't say there was a winner or a loser, but Steve ended up walking away. And we all went to our respective homes. It seems like my dad was trying to teach me to fight. Now, when I was a kid, I was angry because I thought my dad was going to come out and protect me. It was very difficult for me because I was a heavyset kid. I had glasses, I was the nerd, I was the outcast, I was the geek, and I hadn't quite grown into myself yet. So standing up for myself was a big thing. I thought my dad was going to come out and protect me like every kid does. Instead, my dad, I thought at the time, forced me to fight. It wasn't. I was mad, and it wasn't until a couple days later that my across the street neighbor told me, when your dad came out, Steve's sister had jumped onto your back. I don't remember that part of the fight. I was in the middle of it, not paying attention. So when he came out and he said this fight's going to be fair, that's what he meant. It was just going to be between me and Steve. Steve knew that I wasn't going to hit his sister, and my dad knew that I wasn't going to hit his sister either. It was after that I realized my dad kind of did come out to protect me. Kind of. But he also taught me a lesson. A painful lesson. Not too painful. I didn't get like a black eye or a broken nose or anything like that. But it was a lesson on me actually standing up for myself. And Steve and I didn't mesh after that. I didn't hang out with him as much. And I am in contact with one of my friends from that time still. And I've told him on numerous occasions, because Steve has contacted him, that if I ever saw Steve again, I would literally walk up to him and punch him in the face. And that's because of stuff I learned afterwards that I'm not going to get into, but that's how much of a douchebag this guy ended up becoming. So my dad taught me how to stand up for myself in his own way. I was still upset as a kid, but I wasn't mad. I understood that. I understood that he taught me something. And because I stood up for myself, Steve stopped trying to bully me so much. As a man now with kids of my own, I understand even more so what my dad did. I understand that he decided that I needed to fight this battle for myself. That he could not save me from this because I was proving to my bully that I wasn't going to take it anymore. And it also, now, thinking back on it, makes me understand that my dad knew Steve was like this. Because, like I said, he got to know my friends. And before my dad died, that was confirmed, because I asked him about that fight quite a few years ago. And he told me he thought Steve was an asshole. And the reason he thought Steve was an asshole is because of his parents. The influence is there. And I want to be able to impart knowledge like that onto my kids when they get older. Maybe not in the same way. I never once thought my dad was abusive. I never once thought my dad... You want to know who spanked me when I was younger? My mom. My dad never raised a hand to me. Scared the shit out of me a couple of times with how angry I got him, but he never raised a hand to me. I want to impart knowledge like that onto my kids. I want to influence my children that way. And it's really important that everybody does this as well. And that's why I'm happy about these studies. These studies are amazing, showing that, yes, even in a single mother home, that child still needs to know their father. Now, there's a caveat there. If the father is a drug-dealing son of a bitch, I think we can make a pass on them kneeling him. But I'm talking if that man wants to know his children, wants to spend time with his children, the mother should have no problem with it. Because these studies show that that is important for their children's futures. So, I am actually happy for this Father's Day. And I'm glad that I learned lessons from my dad. Just as I hope you guys learned from yours. So I say this to you guys. If you are in any type of speaking terms with your father, good or bad, you need to tell him you care. A simple Happy Father's Day. Tell him you love him. However your relationship works with your father. Because I know that I would give up anything, to have one more Father's Day with my father. So on that great note, those of you watching, those of you listening, thank you for joining me on Father's Day. I'm wishing you a Father's Day if you are indeed a father. And I hope, beyond hope, that you guys make this day what it is. Something to show appreciation for the man who has influenced your life, whether it be good or bad. Try and think about that for a second and see how well or how bad you were influenced. So, my name is Cole Spire. Once again, Happy Father's Day. Thank you for listening. If you liked what I had to say, you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Links are down below. Hit that like button and subscribe. Share me around with your friends. Helps grow this channel. If you didn't like what I had to say, you think I'm just some idiot that is spouting nonsense, let me know in the comments. And have a good night, everybody.